People that regularly write posts on LinkedIn make me absolutely sick. And yes, I know that many have alluded to this before, but all people do on this site is embellish their professional lives, and to a lesser extent their personal lives, as more impressive and prestigious than the lives of others. And I have to admit that this is something that I've been guilty of before. For example, I once marketed a past leadership role of mine at a nonprofit as a crowning moment in my professional life, even though my role sounded much more complex than my actual duties. But on LinkedIn, being boastful is not only the name of the game, but it's what keeps people, quote unquote, relevant. You know, at some point, if you've ever been on LinkedIn, you have run into a post like this. I fell just short of earning a high-paying leadership role at an influential company after making it to a third round of interviews. This was an incredibly painful and adverse experience. However, without what it taught me, I would not have landed this even more lucrative VP role at an even more influential organization. Goes to show that hard work and dedication pay off. Cry me a fucking river. While you were struggling after just missing out on a high-paying leadership role, millions were and still are battling homelessness, hunger, and poverty, in addition to systemic injustices. Many people were and still are working 2 minimum wage jobs for possibly 70 hours a week or more, just to barely support themselves and their loved ones. After all the hard work and dedication that you and so many naive LinkedIn people promised would lead to a better tomorrow, these people are nowhere close to tasting any semblance of success or comfort thanks to the shitty circumstances they were dealt at birth. Please forgive me, but I don't want to hear a fucking word about how just missing out on a leadership role that's high paying, or being passed up for a promotion, or having a request rejected by your manager is quote unquote adversity. This is not adversity. These are minor setbacks at worst. And I've met some of you who have made posts like these. You aren't special. Yeah, you have good intentions, but you're absolutely clueless. You will live. Others will not. Unfortunately, posts like the ones that I just mentioned are so ubiquitous on LinkedIn that it's just become an accepted part of the culture. And that leads me to a point that I just can't stress enough. The people who use this site regularly aren't just insulated, but insular as well. The site has become this bubble where those with jobs, titles, and credentials are perpetually reassured by those with the same jobs, titles, and credentials. Most of the oblivious and ostentatious posts, like the ones that I previously mentioned, they come from people who are of the upper middle class or the elite class that have jobs in industries such as tech, consulting, finance, you name it, as well as the privilege of being shielded from the unforgiving yet frequent hardships that the rest of the population has to deal with on a daily basis. The problems that you hear about on LinkedIn, like I mentioned, such as being passed up for certain roles, I mean, yes, they exist, but these are nowhere near the commonness and the magnitude of the systemic problems that plague our society today. And because LinkedIn tends to showcase the so-called plight of these privileged folks during their professional lives, it gives people such a distorted view of reality. Actually, I take that back. They have no view of reality. Because when you keep seeing posts like these, it becomes so easy to forget that off of LinkedIn, there's an entire world out there where success looks so much different. Here's a news flash for you if you are one of these people that uses LinkedIn and makes a lot of posts on it. Most people lack the time and energy to brand themselves or write some kind of success story on this site because they are too damn busy busting their asses to live sustainable lives. And most people haven't even come into contact with, let alone forge a legit relationship with, a recruiter or a VC guy. Yet all the popular stories that spread on this site completely ignore the struggles of people who worked these underappreciated and low-paying but very important roles that make our world a better place. Do you want to know what real adversity looks like? Hint, it's not this minor roadblock at work. It's lived experience. It's taking the brunt of a rigged system like the one that we have in the United States and still fighting for every inch of progress without being recognized for it. It's looking out for ailing loved ones while working multiple underpaid jobs in a neglectful society that, among other things, lacks universal childcare or universal health care or universal basic income. This isn't even getting into the large contingent of people who, among other things, experience discrimination or need mental health support. Stories like these usually don't end well. Many of these stories are still being written, and in some cases, the people writing them have already lost. But these people almost never have the platform to convey their experiences. But what does LinkedIn showcase? Flashiness, not legitimately noble work, not real impact, not genuine struggle. And deep down, most of us know that the culture on LinkedIn Insular is bullshit. But I'm pretty sure that many of you who do use LinkedIn, you're stuck in this cycle of maintaining a glorified image because the other option on that site is being completely forgotten. But this is absolutely no excuse to continue being active on a site that gives much more attention and love to these overrated professional victories than legitimate perseverance and impact. So, why do we continue to flex instead of participate in work that actually matters? I think it's time to say goodbye to this bullshit culture. And maybe you should start valuing your own sense of purpose and the impact that you actually have on people's lives instead of the optics and the prestige. I would say that we need to change the prevailing discourse on this site and now, but I know nothing's going to change. So if you are on this platform, try your hardest not to use it. Delete your account if you'd like to. And maybe, just maybe, you should start doing work that actually improves society, but without showcasing it to everybody. Because this kind of work, it's not only worthwhile, but it's also a much greater accomplishment than overcoming the so-called adversity of missing out on a slightly higher middle management bullshit job. Ever has been and ever will be. Wake the fuck up.